Good. Give me a thumbs up, Bonnie, if that's okay. Yeah, cool. Thank you. So, I'll just hide you, Bonnie. Right. And Bonnie, if you need anything, text me and my WhatsApp will come up because I won't be able to see the chat box. Okay. Cool. So thank you so much for joining me today. Hormones is obviously a really big topic for us women, and it's something that I'm so passionate about because I think we're so massively underserved in healthcare in the entire world, in the UK especially, in Western societies. No one really knows what hormones are all about, what your period should be like. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was at school, I got told that you could get pregnant. You'd only need to have sex once and you'll get pregnant 3 times, apparently. That's what my science teacher told me when I was at school. So it's a big mystery. Anyway, before I get started, I'll just do a bit of housekeeping. I'm a nutritional therapist and I was trained in the UK. I was brought up in the UK as well. But I came over here after getting really burnt out from working in London, as we all do. I'm sure we've had similar stories. And I came over here doing like an eat, pray, love type of situation. And here I am 2 years on and I haven't left. So yeah, that's me. And I basically do my work online for clients all over the world, America, Hong Kong, UK, everywhere really. So, and yeah, my journey started about 10 years ago. I had a few health issues myself, including IBS, short menstrual cycles, and I suppose infertility and not having any ovulation. I had anxiety, anemia, lots of stuff. But in comparison to a lot of my clients, I've been quite lucky with health issues. I've not really had really severe health issues, but it really brings me joy to help people who don't really have access to proper healthcare. So that's my bread and butter. If you do share, like take any videos or pictures, please do tag me on Instagram. I am Laura Lamb Nutrition. So functional medicine, before I get into all the hormone stuff, there is a bit of a difference between what I do and what other nutritionists do, because I am a functional medicine practitioner. First and foremost, everything I do is all about looking at the whole picture, not just the symptoms on the surface. So whether we have like short menstrual cycles, heavy periods, painful periods, endometriosis, I look beyond that and look a bit deeper as to why that's happening. Because in healthcare now, our solution to, for example, adenomyosis is to take the whole uterus out. Why have we gotten to the point where we're going straight to surgery without actually understanding why a condition is happening to start with? So that's why I do functional medicine, because there's so many things underneath that needs to be upheaved, like. So we're looking at the root causes, looking at the body system imbalances, which would give the symptoms on the top. And yeah, we all know that we're not very well served in the healthcare industry. Does anyone know how, like, has anyone had any experiences in healthcare where your doctor is maybe dismissing you, or have you experienced, not, okay. Anyone care to share your experience at all? Yeah.
Menstrual injection. Or
Great. And it sucks actually, because a lot of the gynecologists are women, and you would think that a woman, yeah, and you would think women would be an advocate for our health, you know, look a bit deeper into why it's happening. But no, it's really shit, really. So, also question, who did anyone go on the pill when they were a teenager? Did anyone go on the pill, like the oral contraceptive pill? Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we're so different. Yeah, we're so different. Everybody, I mean, I do genetic testing, so it gets so interesting when you look into how each individual person creates their hormones and how they balance them, along with like your neurotransmitters, um, because because all of your hormones, they make your personality, and when you get put on the pill with synthetic hormones, it almost changes your personality, right? I just want right, so yeah. Oh, does anyone have endometriosis here? No? Okay, I won't go through that topic too much then. Actually, Bonnie does. Oh no, I can't remember actually, Bonnie. You'll remind me later. But I will cover it a bit about, especially when we go through heavy periods and also painful periods. Does anyone get really painful periods? Cool. We'll definitely cover that. Okay, so yeah, research is massively done on men mainly, and it was only until a few decades ago that they started doing research on women, so no wonder we don't have very much research on how our bodies work. But I wanted to show you my journey. So my periods were always clockwork. I got my period quite late, so I think I was 15, but I'm smaller than most of my school friends, and I got it much later. And I got very heavy periods, really heavy periods, like massive clots and everything. But generally, I was quite like regular up until 2020. So I had 26-day periods all the time, but then I went through a really bad breakup, and I was like, it was massively stressful. And then it got to the point where at the end of 2020, all the way to 2022, which is not that long ago, I had really short cycles, like 20-day, 19-day. There was one also, it was, I think I had my period in twice in 2 weeks. It was really stressing me out, and I wasn't looking to get pregnant whatsoever, but it's still important to me to regulate my mental health, how I feel, my energy levels, by ensuring that my hormones are in order. And I work in health, so when that's not going right, I'm just like, oh my God, I need to find out why. So has anyone used the Natural Cycles app? Yeah, I love this. It's so good. It's an app that basically you use to measure your basal metabolic temperature to track your menstrual cycle. So if you haven't looked into it, I totally recommend it. I'm not sure if you can get shipping to Indonesia though. So I also do a lot of Dutch testing. So has anyone heard of Dutch testing at all? Yeah, we do this test in America and the UK a lot, and it's a really comprehensive hormone test, which you wouldn't really get access to in normal clinics, because if you went to the GP and asked for a hormone test, they'll probably just do estrogen, progesterone, LH, FSH at one point in your cycle. But we know throughout your month, your hormones are going to be different all throughout. So that's why I do this testing, because it gives us a bigger and better picture of what's going on. So this was when I had short cycles. As you can see, my menstrual cycle length was about 22 days at that time, and my estrogen and progesterone were quite low. So when you get that, I'll go into the menstrual cycle in a bit more depth, but when you get that peak, that's when you've ovulated, right? I wasn't really doing so. Even if I was ovulating, or maybe my body was trying to, it was just like, push that egg through. And then the progesterone that came through this line was just like really low. So my progesterone levels were like menopausal. They were so low that they were almost at menopausal levels. Progesterone is your hormone that makes you a bit more introverted, and I'll talk about that in more depth. But you can see the difficulty that I went through with my cycles, where if I tried to get pregnant, I would not have gotten pregnant. So, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's about, well, for the standard one, it's £300, so about 6 million in IDR. So yeah, you can get cheaper alternatives, but I mean, you could do a blood test and just pick the right day in order to check. But and also you can also work with your practitioner, or if you choose to work with me, that'll be great. But if you work with your symptoms and take an understanding of what's happening, you might not need to do the Dutch test. So actually, I don't really run the Dutch test that often anymore. I do more blood testing and genetics testing, because really with my understanding and by listening to your symptoms, I can figure out what's actually happening. So if we do really need to, and I can't figure it out, we'll do Dutch testing. So now I'm back to my regular cycles. I have, I mean, it's 24 to 28 days long usually. I usually go around 26 days, but I don't get any PMS. I don't get any pain, no cramps, literally no cramps at all. I don't get any clots, no mood swings at all. So that's, I think, the kind of menstrual cycle that we should be aiming for every single woman. Yeah, it will be difficult for some women, easier for other women. Okay, so does anyone know very much about the menstrual cycle? Is it something that you've studied or looked into at all, or not? Yeah, okay. Don't know. Basics, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, so basically, day one is the first day of your bleed. So when you start bleeding, that will be the first day of your cycle. Up until the day before your next cycle, that's the end, the last day of your cycle. So usually 26 days for me. Some women will be 28. From 21 to 32 days is a natural healthy cycle. Any shorter, any longer, you can start to see imbalances in hormones, right? So your follicular phase is where you start developing an egg for release. And then your luteal phase is when the egg has been released and you start to build the lining of your uterine lining so that you can shed the blood for a period, right? The uterine lining in your uterus is to implant the egg in there so you can get pregnant. Ovulation is usually around day 14. Some people are a lot later, some people usually a lot later rather than sooner. And that should occur after an estrogen peak, okay? And then estrogen goes lower, and then you've got progesterone gets released when your egg comes out, and then progesterone makes you feel like you need to stay at home and watch Disney movies. So that's that. So estrogen being your diva, she's like the really sexy, sexy mama type of girl, and she comes out in the middle of the cycle. And luckily, I think I'm in my ovulation phase, so that means I'm all good to go for a presentation. Don't catch me in my my luteal phase. So progesterone is your introverted girl, and she just wants to stay at home, and she makes you feel calmer, makes you feel less anxious. So yeah, and then that's when you have a period, basically. So actually, have you ever heard of like cycle syncing, or yeah? So a lot of doctors or people who specialize in female health talk about putting things in your diary that might be presentations or meetings or client calls where you need to achieve something at the beginning of your cycle, where you've got a bit more estrogen to help you power through. And maybe doing your admin at the end of your cycle where you're a bit more introverted, you want to stay at home and things like that. Yeah. So yeah, has anyone heard of Fasting Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Peltz? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So I just send you the book tomorrow. Yeah. So fasting. Does anyone fast? Yeah. So fasting is a great tool, really, really great tool for yeah, reducing inflammation, longevity, and all of that. But in that book by Dr. Mindy Peltz, she talks about how we can't fast as well as men do, because of the fluctuating in hormones. Actually, she recommends that you fast mainly in your follicular phase. So that will be from days 4 to, I would say 4 to 10, because in the development of your egg, you want to make sure that you've got plenty of energy. So just avoiding, so like, for example, 12-hour fasting, 13-hour fasting, where you don't eat anything until the very morning. So usually we finish eating by like 8 p.m. and then you might not start eating until 9 a.m. the following morning. That's the 13-hour fast. I would say if you're trying to ovulate, or if you are trying to conceive, or at least optimize your health for healthy egg release, or even just regulate your cycles, I wouldn't do fasting, juice fasting, or water fasting. Sorry. Oh no, I mean like yeah, you can drink juices, but I mean if you were to juice fast only, it's like drink juices only and not eat food, or drink water only and not eat any food, then I would say that's a no-go if you want to regulate your cycles. Yeah, I'll explain why. So yeah. No, I would say it's not totally recommended with women, especially if you have irregular cycles. I would say fasting is not recommended. So. In in general, I would say no, but you can do it smartly. You can do it. You can fast between day 14 and day 4 and 14 quite well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I definitely wouldn't fast when you're in your luteal phase then. Oh, okay. You don't do fasting. Oh, okay. I don't understand. What do you mean? How do you feel? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go through that in more depth. I think you might find some answers in the rest of my presentation. Okay. Oh, estrogen dominance. Yeah. So a lot of the conditions we'll cover today, you'll find that estrogen, she will steal the show. So conditions like PCOS, endometriosis, PMS, PMDD, estrogen tends to like want to steal the limelight. And in actual fact, we think this is a normal, this is the, you know, the type of diagram in science that we see all the time for the menstrual cycle. Actually, this is not accurate. This is more accurate. So this is progesterone and this is estrogen. This is more of an accurate picture. Actually, progesterone should be the dominant, but she's not. She's not like in personality, but she is in numbers. And when estrogen gets too high, that's where you start to get rockier symptoms like heavier bleeding, painful periods, because she wants to steal the limelight and she's, you know, stomping her feet like, give me some airtime. So yeah. So the reason why I asked you when you got your period or when you took your pill is because it's so interesting that we get prescribed the pill far too often and too much. So I got on the pill when I went to uni, which is relatively late considering like my friends took it a lot earlier. What age did you guys get the pill? 15, 15, 16, yeah. So usually we were like recommended to go on it because of contraception. I know people who have been on were put on it at 11 years old. So yeah, 11, 12. Actually, she was meant to be here today, but she's not. So yeah, this is kind of what happens when we go through our puberty through to our reproductive years and through to menopause. So the blue line is progesterone and estrogen is the dotted line. And when we start our periods when we're in our teens, it's rocky. It's going to be rocky. I don't know about you guys, but I was a horrible teenager. I drove my mom insane. Did you guys get similar? Yeah. So I had loads of acne on my forehead. I had loads of acne on my forehead, and I was just horrible. I was just angry all the time. But that's because progesterone comes in really late and estrogen comes in like all rocky, and you know, she's the one that causes all the acne and the anger and all of that. And that's why, because your body's just trying to get to know your hormones. Because when you were a kid, like, you had none of this going on, and when you start in your teens, you're just feeling horrible and erratic, and you don't know why, but it's really because it's almost like we were just learning how to drive a car. You know, you're going to stall, you're not going to drive properly, it's going to take you some time, and that's exactly what's happening in your teenage years. And it actually takes you until you're 19-ish to 23 to normalize your menstrual cycle. So when they kept putting us all on the pill when we were before that age, actually what was happening is that we're stopping proper development of your hormones. So a lot of women who went on the pill far too early actually developed PCOS in later life, in the 20s. Has anyone got PCOS? Yeah. When did you get diagnosed, if you don't mind me asking? 22. Yeah. So what were your symptoms? Oh, 14. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, and did you get put on the pill for a particular reason? Acne. Okay. Yeah, we all get acne when we're teenagers. I think the problem is with the healthcare system, they didn't really understand female health properly, and they thought, okay, here's give them a pill, make it stop, you know. But we're actually supposed to let it happen. And unfortunately, we didn't. But yeah, anyway, so when you're on the pill, it's a synthetic set of hormones, and basically, it just flatlines your hormones. So progestin is not actually the exact copy of progesterone. It's actually made from testosterone. So unfortunately, some people get worse symptoms on the pill. So I don't know if you've ever experienced like more mood swings, heavier bleeding when you, maybe not heavier bleeding, but maybe more erratic moods when you're on the pill. That's because there's different types of hormones that you get put on will have different effects on your body. So generally, that's what happens when you're on the pill. And when they said to you, "Oh, let's put you on the pill to regulate your hormones," actually, that's not doing it. It's not regulating anything. It's just masking the whole problem, right? Because the problem probably was you just trying to adjust to the hormones, or maybe if your diet was inflammatory or had too much sugar, that would be cause some erratic fluctuations. But really, putting you on the pill is never going to regulate anything, and that's what we're told when we go to the doctor. So yeah, if anyone's on the patch or the implant or anything, it might happen like that more so. Okay. Oh, I will just mention HRT because there's loads of talk about HRT, and if you've got any mums or aunts who are going on HRT, which is what they have been giving to women who are perimenopausal, you see a similar pattern at the end of your years. So we've got a while to wait for us, but when the time comes, the perimenopause, has anyone experienced their mothers going through a bad menopause? Yeah, my mom went through bad. I was going through my teens when she was going through menopause. It was horrible. So yeah, but basically the reverse happens when you hit menopause, and now they're trying to give people HRT, which often is the wrong thing because they're giving women loads of estrogen, but your estrogen is still really high at that time, and you can actually worsen your menopause by doing HRT. So it really needs to be personalized. Okay, does anyone have PMDD or PMS symptoms really bad at all? Like mood swings, bloating, headaches, yeah. Yeah. So PMS is very simple, very common, right? So when your progesterone rises, your prostaglandins also rise. So prostaglandins is an inflammatory chemical, and that will cause the cramps, it will cause your bloating, it slows down your digestive system as well, because the goal of having your digestive system slower is so that you can absorb more nutrients, so that if you were to get pregnant, your baby has more nutrients. So that's why your gut slows down so much. So before your period, you might find that you get constipation. Anyone get constipation? I don't. I get the other way around. So does anyone get period poop? Yep. So that will be the prostaglandins because they're contracting your uterine walls, but also your gut muscles. So yeah. Anyone have PMDD or hear of anyone with PMDD? Yeah. So PMDD is like, it's called premenstrual disorder, and it is where the world is going to end before your period. Like, it is so bad. I have friends with PMDD, and literally they feel so depressed and so suicidal at that time where, you know, everything completely changes. The entire world feels like it's changed. And then once their period comes along, they're like, oh, I'm good. So, you know, it's a really big thing, and actually impacts a lot of women, and we don't even realize, especially in the workplace where, you know, our schedules, 9 to 5 jobs, the environment is very masculine. It's not made to support women at all. And when women are going through symptoms like this and having to go to meetings or put on a brave face, it's just really hard, you know. So yeah, okay. So yeah, the reason why you get PMS is because when your estrogen, remember she's your diva, and she actually stimulates serotonin, your happy hormone. So she makes you feel really happy, really outgoing, and all of that. But before your period, so your period kind of starts around here. But when your progesterone rises after you've ovulated, estrogen drops. And it's at this point where estrogen is at a low, and progesterone is high, that you have less serotonin, your happy hormone, because estrogen helps you make serotonin, but progesterone helps you get rid of it. So at that point, if you are genetically susceptible, because a lot of women have really poor balance of serotonin, and that's why some people get more depression than others. That's where it happens, and you start to feel terrible up until your period comes, and then you're a little bit better. Okay. Okay, so it's a huge topic. We've got so many topics to go through, and it is virtually impossible to do anything in depth today, but I'm going to try. If you do have PMS, there are so many things that we need to look at, because if you think back to what I said about the low estrogen and the low serotonin, we need to really think about how are you making serotonin, you know, your happy hormones. Do you have any nutrient deficiencies that might make it difficult? Because serotonin is made from a protein amino acid called tryptophan, which you can get in eggs, chicken, turkey. It's not very great quantities in plant foods, to be fair. But you also need things like B12, vitamin D, zinc, folate, B6, and all of these nutrients to help you make your neurotransmitters. So if you were completely nutrient devoid and you've got loads of nutrient deficiencies, of course you're going to feel depressed because your body's not got the nutrients it needs to make healthy mental health, right? So making sure you've got all of those nutrients, and also sunlight. I'm sure we're all here for a reason, because Europe is dire right now, and you know, sunshine helps you make vitamin D, and vitamin D is a very, very important nutrient that helps you make a good balance of neurotransmitters. So yeah, stress, trauma. A lot of people haven't really solved their traumas. I don't know if anyone's gone on a healing journey here. Has anyone done the whole Bali eat, pray, love situation where you go and do some sound healing and breath work? Yeah, same. Went through that. So yeah, so with intense stress, as you can see with my menstrual cycle a few years ago, stress massively dysregulates the communication between your brain and your hormone production. It's massive. So if you are really in a stressed state and your periods disappear, has anyone experienced that before? Like where your periods just disappear? Yeah. Oh, uh-huh. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that actually happened to me when I was on the pill the second time. I didn't stop bleeding for like 2 weeks. And then, yeah, that was really bad. So yeah, it really didn't. 3 months is a very long time. Yeah. Did you get anemic at that time? Anemic. So did you lose a lot of, like, if you were losing that much blood? Yeah. 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 Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the pill really does mess things up because when we take the pill, because it's synthetic hormones, it tells your natural, it tells your brain that you don't need any hormones. Your brain stops, goes like, okay, I can just sit back and relax then because you're taking a pill that's doing my job for me. So you just don't get your natural production. So, mm, yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. There are some pills that are better than others. In the UK, I think Yasmin was the better one. I don't know if that's, some people got the mini pill. But basically, some pills are like based on testosterone, and then some of them are based on estrogen. So it makes a big difference on what you're doing, which ones you're on. Um, Smoking and drinking, drugs definitely impacts everything. So when periods disappear, like I said, when you've got a high stress situation, and whether that's psychological stress, physical stress, or biological stress, it's all stress at the end of the day, and it tells your brain, and then dysregulates the whole communication between your brain and your ovaries and your adrenals to help you make hormones, right? So other stresses would be not eating enough food. So actually, I see that massively in women who exercise too much or haven't eaten enough, or maybe they have an eating disorder that is in the background, causing absent periods. So women who get absent periods and PCOS, for instance, typically you think they would be obese or overweight, but actually a lot of women who are very skinny and slim would also get the same problem, because both ends of the spectrum are very inflammatory for the body. Okay. This was my cycle. I showed this to you earlier. PCOS, did you say that you've got PCOS, right? So PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, if anyone doesn't know, is generally where you have a presence of a lot of cysts on your ovary. So your diagnosis tool would be an ultrasound, and usually you'd see lots of cysts. But there's a problem there. I'll come back to that. The second thing would be too much testosterone. Testosterone being the male dominant hormone, but everybody has testosterone. It's just men have more of it and women have less of it. And too much of it would cause like facial hair growth, more acne. If you had more androgens, testosterone during your teens, you could potentially get more of a defined jawline, more masculine jawline. You might have more oily skin, more sebum production. You might get hair growth around here, or maybe even hair loss as well, and that can happen quite a lot. And the third thing is not having a regular cycle and/or absent periods. So those are the three criteria. But the thing is, when we look a bit deeper with PCOS, it's really interesting that most of these problems that are behind it can be solved quite easily. So when you have multiple cysts, because all of our eggs in our ovaries start off as cysts anyway, we all have cysts. It's just whether one of them, or usually one of them, gets picked to ovulate and be released to be picked to be your baby. That's what happens. But when they can't mature, they all stay as cysts. So we all have cysts. The whole term is just completely mislabeled, really. So yeah, when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, metabolic issues are massive. So it's all about not ovulating. So the egg in your ovaries, because you have a certain amount of eggs in your ovaries from the moment you're born, but they're not all released. One of them will be released every month. But when they don't develop and get ready for release, that's when they look like cysts. So not kind of like not like the cysts that you might get on your skin, right? It's different from that. It's actually the appearance of cysts. So it's not really labeled that well. So yeah, metabolic issues are massive. So I see blood sugar imbalance, insulin resistance, like eating too much sugar massively drives PCOS, because when you have too much sugar in your bloodstream, it increases your insulin levels, which is the hormone that takes sugar into your cells for energy. But insulin also increases your testosterone. That's where it comes from. So when we look at the root causes of PCOS, we must look at balancing the blood sugar, getting you on a healthier diet, like plenty of vegetables, fruits, a healthy source of protein, plenty of fats, but not too many carbs, and making sure that you don't eat too much sugar as well. Because PCOS is like hugely a modern day disease. There are so many people with PCOS. Like, I'm sure we all know someone with PCOS, right? And a lot of these issues are driven by modern day living. Oh, also, excess testosterone can create that like apple looking shape, you know? So with no one does, so that's good. But that apple shape is really to do with like more testosterone. So you ever seen women that have a very top heavy half and then skinnier legs? Yeah. Usually there's a lot of that in Western countries where ultra processed food is a big part of the diet, and you get a lot more top heavy body shapes. Oh, okay. Here's a picture, a Dutch test from my client. So she had been diagnosed with PCOS, but she had low testosterone. And she did this ultrasound and she had the cyst, but yeah, her testosterone was low. But at the same time, her menstrual cycles are long. She got lots of acne. So, you know, it's not always to do with testosterone. Actually, estrogen being high can also cause the same problem. And as I said earlier, estrogen can be the diva and she can steal the limelight, and that's why you can get those symptoms as well. So yeah, and also, and one thing to note here, why we're getting so much hormonal dysregulation in 2024 is because of our environment. There are so many pollutants in the air. We've got plastic absolutely everywhere. There are so many things that act like estrogen in the body when you ingest it, and they will make you more estrogenic. It's the reason why men can get breast cancer, you know. Plastics are everywhere. I recently read that actually our clothes, a lot of it's made out of polyester and all that. And I thought, oh, it's not really, I'm wearing cotton underwear, that's fine, I'm not going to absorb the plastic, right? But I read something and they said, oh, but when you wash your plastic clothes, the plastic sheds like dust, and the dust just settles in your home and you can breathe it in, and that's how we're ingesting more microplastics from our clothing. So I've got to change my entire wardrobe now. And it's expensive. So yeah, that's a huge problem, and it's really hard to get away from because we're in 2024. Sorry. Oh yeah, fragrances. Oh my gosh, sorry to, you're going to hate me because fragrances are some of the worst sources of phthalates. So it's that chemical that makes your fragrances smell, you know, last long as well. Because if you use a natural fragrance, it just lasts like 5 minutes. But if you use like a standard brand of fragrance, it will last like all day, right? And that's because of the phthalates, and those are estrogenic as well. So they will mess with your hormones. So that's why I have not been wearing fragrances for such a long time. But yeah, does that answer your question? Sorry to burst your bubble. Everybody's like, all my friends are like, oh, what's wrong with this now? Right, okay, so, oh no. No. Okay, okay. Right, so, as I said, I do a lot of genetic testing, and I'm going to just gloss over this because it is so complicated. But some women are just more genetically at risk of hormonal issues like PCOS. Because, for example, in this example, estrogen is here, right? And then you make the metabolites here. But this person has genetics that upregulate her testosterone production and her estrogen production. And that will cause a PCOS picture. So if anyone has like PCOS or hormone issues in their family, there's a more of a risk of getting it in yourself, if that is a common picture. I would, if you're only in Bali, then blood testing. I work with Form Bali. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Hair form. You might have seen them advertised around on groups, but yeah. Yeah, I'll show you at the end because I've got a slide on their panels. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're not gonna be here, right? I'll send it to you after. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. No worries. So yeah, this is genetic testing, and I haven't yet tried to do it here in Bali, but it should be possible. If anyone's interested, let me know. But yeah, I do genetic testing massively over the Dutch test because yeah, seeing your real-time hormones is great, but actually looking at what your inherent ability to produce hormones is even more powerful, and it's incredibly interesting because it means it shows you how you make your hormones, but also get rid of them because you need to get rid of them at some point. Okay. Okay, so things to ensure that you work on if you do have PCOS or irregular periods. I mentioned not fasting too much because the first thing that stops when your period, when it stops, the first thing that you should look at is whether you're consuming enough calories or not. Are you consuming enough protein or fats? Because these provide the building blocks and resources for your hormones. You make your hormones, all of your hormones, from cholesterol, and everybody's trying to say that you need to reduce cholesterol. Every single hormone in your body, sex hormone and your stress hormones are dependent on cholesterol. But if we're trying to get rid of cholesterol, how are we supposed to make enough hormones? So yeah, avoiding too much fasting or starvation or low calorie diets is really important. Over exercising. My friend who loves to run, and she runs run clubs here in Bali. She runs all the time, and I wanted to show her this point. She's not here right now. So anyway, over exercising, as I said earlier, is a really big thing. As you can see, like women who are bodybuilders, athletes, often we see that their periods disappear. So yeah. Protein's already there. Constipation. Anyone got gut issues? Any digestive issues? IBS, constipation, loose stools? No one? Well, I'm surprised because yeah. Because we're in Bali. Yeah. Yeah, because yeah, when digestive issues with hormones is very interesting link because you get rid of your hormones through your guts. So a lot of women I find that have constipation, i.e. they're not pooping every day. If they're pooping only a couple of times a week, then you know that's constipation, and that means you keep all your hormones when they're in a toxic form in your body, and that can cause more estrogenic effects. So it's so important to get gut health. Really? I had a client come to me and she poops naturally. She was reliant on laxatives, and the longest she hadn't pooped for was a month and a half. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so bad. Yeah. And I would say the whole cycle. So if your cycles are not regular and you've got, for example, too much testosterone, I would definitely have omega-3 about 200 milligrams, 2,000 milligrams. That's 2 grams every single day. So if you're not eating enough through your food, and here we don't really have much oily fish, we only have white fish and ocean fish. So having the supplement is really important as well. So that'll. So mackerel, sardines, herring, we don't have here. We do have sardines, we can get sardines. Salmon, yes, but it's quite high in heavy metals. So if you can get access to trout, that's a better alternative. So yeah, salmon's okay, but yeah, we have problems with the seeds at the moment. So, and the farm stuff is terrible. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, totally. Because that saffron is helps you make more serotonin. So actually, it's one of the herbs that I use if someone is struggling with their mental health, and we're usually on an SSRI, so the drugs that help you balance your mood. But saffron does a similar action, but doesn't have the nasty side effects of having like an SSRI. So yeah, saffron's a great one. Oh wow, yeah. That's good, yeah. That's yeah. If you could what's your name again, sorry? Katerina. Let me ask the organizers and I'll find your name and then yeah, oh okay. I'll send you it. Right. Right. Okay. Okay, so other foods that you would need to include to help you process your hormones properly, because you need to get rid of it. If it stays in your body, it's going to cause issues for you. Sulfur-rich foods are massively helpful to help you get rid of estrogen. So eggs, alliums like garlic and onions and leeks are really important, but also green vegetables. There's this huge carnivore movement at the moment, and whilst it works for some people, I mean, it's really important that you have folate because folate exists almost exclusively in plants, and you need folate to help you use all of the nutrients that you get from meat. So the whole either or meat or vegetables argument is totally bonkers to me. But yeah, having green vegetables with plenty of folate will help your liver and your hormones massively. Right, okay. So, we don't have endometriosis in here, do we? No, we do, yeah. Have you been diagnosed? Hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. So endometriosis and adenomyosis, it's like debilitating issues whereby the cells of your uterine lining grow in other places other than your uterine lining. So adenomyosis exists only in the uterus, and endometriosis, actually the tissues can grow anywhere in your body. It's that frightening. These two conditions are very poorly understood, and they still think that if your period blood goes backwards, that's the sole reason for endometriosis, which is really dumb because 90% of us have periods that go backwards because when we sleep, it will go back, right? So makes no sense. So endometriosis and adenomyosis are excruciatingly painful. Like, does anyone know anyone with endometriosis? Anything? No? Yeah. So you'll know that they are like dying when the pain comes, right? So it is awful. So yeah, let me show you. So the thing is, cramping, having painful periods, adenomyosis, endometriosis, or even fibroids, having that pain is so common. There's so many women that have pain, but it's not normal. We shouldn't have like so much pain where we need the strongest painkillers and we can't function and we can't go to work, you know? Yeah. Ah, on your ovaries? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, when you've got more cysts on your ovaries, that's a sign of possible PCOS. But yeah, the pain that can also come with PCOS massively, because a lot of women have painful periods at that time. Oh, really? Yeah. 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 Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely think, yeah, if you want to chat about it after, let me know. Because really, when we're looking at PCOS, it's a metabolic problem. So we have to understand why your ovaries are creating, not developing an egg, and your eggs are staying as cysts, and causing you that much pain. It's probably because of estrogen dominance, and that diva, the estrogen is just taking too much limelight, and we need to get that down and support the removal of it. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, always look at it. So, oh, on this slide, these health issues, whether you have pain or anything, we have to look beyond the pain. We have to keep asking questions of why we're in pain, because it is not normal. We shouldn't live in pain, right? Men don't have to, so we shouldn't have to either. Yeah, so anyway, gut health being a massive one. I will just touch on that one. If your gut health is not good, then that will have an impact on your hormones, because poor nutrient absorption, poor excretion of getting rid of your hormones. If that's not doing good, then you'll have hormone problems. If there is any infection in your gut, that can also trigger issues, even parasites. So it's huge. When we're also, I found that STIs, like sexually transmitted infections, or even like thrush, vaginal thrush, or bacterial vaginosis. So has anyone had that? Yeah, yeah. It's quite common when you don't have like good bacteria in your vagina. There's, I have a slide on it later, but yeah, having an infection that can change your hormones, actually can make you infertile, and also cause miscarriages as well. I've had a client who had a urea plasma infection, and that, I think, was what caused her miscarriage. So yeah, so it's a big problem. Also, we are eating loads of junk food nowadays, like a lot of seed oils, a lot of things that we didn't have 100 years ago are in our foods, and it correlates with a lot more instance of chronic health issues. So yes, things to work on if you do have pain. Say similar to before, protein, healthy fats, optimizing your liver health with vegetables, eggs, and onions, minimizing refined sugar, because sugar is a core, like, creates inflammation in the body. Optimize your gut health. Plenty of probiotics are great. Exercising well, because you need to get the blood flowing. I always talk about, your body like a river to my clients. So it's like, almost, if you have no pain at all, no health issues, the river would be, have flow really nice and clear. The water is nice and clear. It's not murky at all. But when you start getting rocks and trees falling into the river, the water like gets blocked and can't flow, and then the water gets stagnant and dirty, and that's when health problems start to happen. That's the analogy that they use in Chinese medicine a lot. So understanding what is causing your blockages is important for reducing pain. Address heavy metal toxicity. If you're mercury poisoning, it's more common than you think. Lead, arsenic, things like that. And plastic. So yeah, apparently we credit cards worth of plastic every single month, every month or year. I can't remember which one it is. So yeah. Has anyone asked themselves or asked Google what their discharge should look like? Because I have, yeah. So we should have a white discharge that is not too clotty, not too much like clotted cheese, clotted cream or clotted cheese, cottage cheese. If it's green or yellow, that's the problem. If it's grayish, that's also a problem. So that can indicate an infection. So if you've got bad bacteria in your vaginal canal, that can cause hormonal dysregulation too. So yeah. Anyone have any questions about discharge? No, I won't skip that. Right, so actually, Right, actually, this is a test result that I did on my client who was diagnosed with, she was diagnosed with, what was it called? Um, eczema down there. And the doctors didn't know. She had it for years. Like I'm talking, I think she was diagnosed for about 5 years, and they just gave her steroid cream to get rid of the eczema. Actually, when she didn't have any other health issues, that was it. So when I looked at her vaginal microbiome, I found loads of bad bugs, basically. She had loads of candida, loads of bacterial vaginosis causing bacteria. So that would cause really like horrible itching, like really soreness, a lot of soreness down there, painful sex and all of that. And she didn't have very many good bugs. And so that would cause issues with your hormones as well. And actually she had lots of ureaplasma, which actually would cause her difficulty getting pregnant or miscarriage, because it's quite a nasty infection there. So, and then when we cleared all that and got her vaginal microbiome cleared, her eczema went away. So she was misdiagnosed in the end. Okay, menstrual products. Does anyone, I mean, we're all in Bali, so I hope everybody's very eco-conscious and all that. Any menstrual products that people like at the moment? I like natural organic cotton pads, and sometimes I use tampons, but I try to avoid them. So I'm a big fan of letting it flow out naturally. I know it feels disgusting and it's like unpleasant, but it's the way it should have been. You know, it should flow out naturally. Because the thing is, if we're trying to like use tampons to stick it all in, or even menstrual cups, that moisture can cause bacterial growth and then therefore impact infection risk and then cause issues with your hormones, right? So I think we really need to go back to like using pads and letting it flow out, because it's what nature intended. It's not supposed to stay inside. And plus loads of like conventional period products, they have like plastics in there. There was a report a few months ago that found that there were heavy metals in tampons and pads, like lead. We can absorb a lot through our vaginal walls, by the way, because the tissue in our mouths, like this mucous membrane, is the same type of tissue in our vaginas. And so we can absorb a lot through those tissues. And that's a problem when your menstrual products are made from plastic, right? So yeah, I always recommend going for like organic brands. And here we've got a few, I know that Bokashi stocks some really nice brands. Some of the health food shops also stock them. So if you go for like cotton ones or even the bamboo fabric ones that you just wash and reuse, they're great as well. Menstrual cups, if you use a menstrual cup, make sure you empty it regularly. Don't let it sit in there for 12 hours. So yeah. Have you ever noticed like the change between tampons and pads? Like I noticed that I get more pain. Like I get pain and I never get pain when I've used too many tampons. Has anyone noticed that? Yeah. 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 And did you get less pain when you moved to pads? Yeah. 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 Same. I only use tampons if I'm going out, or like doing exercise or swimming or something. But otherwise, just let it out. Yeah. Okay, what are we doing for time? Oh, we're at the end. Oh, it's not bad. Okay. So Katerina asked about testing. So I'm working with Perform. They're a company here in Bali. Started off by a Brit actually, and they do blood testing for people here in Bali. And they've got a test kit called Hormonal Harmony, and they've got the blood markers that I would choose. So including a complete blood count, blood sugar, because we know that blood sugar is massively implicated in PCOS. We've got progesterone, estrogen, luteinizing hormone, FSH, testosterone, really important, and thyroid function. Oh, I forgot to mention thyroid. So thyroid is that gland in your neck that regulates your temperature, your metabolism, your hormone balance. It's your thermostat, basically. And when you have poor thyroid function, like hypothyroid or hyperthyroid, that can mess with your hormones a lot. So that's why we do that testing. But yeah, we're doing a deal. So we've got 8% off if you use my code. And if you work with me as well. So we can use your bloods, look at everything from a holistic perspective. So understanding every single symptom that you have, mapping everything together, and joining the dots, and then I'll interpret your bloods for you and show you what you need to do in order to regulate them. So yeah, let me know if you're interested in that. Okay. Oh, books. I love these two books. Has anyone read these? No? Yeah? I got, yeah? Yeah. So these are amazing books. You have to read these. This blew my mind because this has a lot of stats around like the research around women's health, the things that the pill does to our bodies that we don't even know. Did you know that women who took the pill are more likely to choose male partners that are going to who are less masculine, who are more feminine or able to, a bit more stable type of person. But if you're off the pill, you'd choose someone who is a bit more like your rugby, your rugby player type of guy who's really masculine. Did you know that? That is wild, absolutely wild. They did a study, I think it was a Scandinavian country or something. They found that women were more likely to choose certain types of male partners based on whether they were on the pill or not. That's crazy, isn't it? Because imagine if you were put on the pill since your teens and you didn't come off until your 30s. Like, imagine how different your personality would have been if you didn't take the pill. Crazy. So yeah, totally recommend both of those books. Yeah. So anyway, functional medicine is what I do. As I said earlier, there's always something that we can do to help your health. You're never stuck in a position, like no matter what health condition you have, there's always something that you can do to change it and improve it. So yeah, I always believe that medication and surgery should be the very last resort. So if you ever happen to have adenomyosis and the doctor says, oh, okay, the only way is to take your whole uterus out, I'll be like, okay, I need a second opinion first, because that's really drastic. And I don't think anyone should go for that until you understand why, because actually removing organs is just another band-aid solution. It's not getting to the root cause of why it happened in the first place. You're just removing the thing that it affects. If it doesn't affect your reproductive organs, it's going to affect something else in your body, right? So yeah. So yeah, that's it. I hope you all enjoyed that. Ask me any questions and please do follow me on Instagram. Yeah, I post quite a lot. So if you want to come to any of my other workshops or let me know any feedback, or if there's any suggestions for new workshops, do let me know. Because in January, I will be doing another one, and hopefully every month from then onwards. But yeah, usually I do one a month. So yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. You had a question? Sorry? That's good. I'm really glad. I'm really glad you guys came. Thanks so much for showing up. It's really great to share my knowledge with you guys. So yeah, if you're interested in knowing more about what I do or how I would tackle your health issues, I offer discovery calls. So yeah, let me know. Anyone got questions? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's individual per person, I would say. I always practice personalized nutrition. So when it comes to, say, for example, an irregular cycle, I would always focus on having plenty of good quality protein. Protein is king at the end of the day, and it fuels a lot of things in our body. So making sure that you've got good quality eggs, fish, meat if you eat it, and plenty of vegetables. Mostly an unprocessed diet would be the key. But yeah, I would actually look into a blood test, look at what you're missing, and then add based on that. So yeah. Does that answer your question? Mm-hmm. That's yeah, it's water retention really. Yeah. So yeah, we in a normal day we usually like fluctuate about 2 kilos anyway. So, but yeah, in the run up to your period, you will retain more water. It's almost like I believe it's because we want to make sure that we've got more hydration in case of a pregnancy. So, you know, pregnancy is the main event really. And yeah, that biologically, that's what our bodies want us to do. Although not all of us want to get pregnant. But that's the main goal biologically. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, you should get your period back soon. Yeah, within 2 months it will be pretty regular. Yeah. It might take some time to get back to a normal cycle that you used to have, but it won't be erratic like when you were a teenager. It will just come back. Yeah. 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 Thank God we don't have to go through that again. So yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let me show you. No. Yes. Yeah. 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 There is a solution for sure because what you're seeing with your longer menstrual cycle for 35 days is either your follicular phase, so the time it takes for you to ovulate is just taking a long time, or you know your luteal phase where you're waiting for your progesterone to come down or make enough progesterone is too long. So what you see, I mean, a lot of women with irregular periods and PCOS will have that picture. Yeah, you don't have this because not everybody has all three criteria for PCOS, but you can have long cycles, right? So usually the picture is having too much progesterone, too much of this, the pink line. So your peak probably maybe would peak over here instead, and then your progesterone levels might have gone like here. Does that make sense? So you might not be ovulating, or your body might be waiting for you to ovulate. So that would cause a longer menstrual cycle, or your estrogen is just too high and not allowing your progesterone to come down properly or rise properly. So that's probably what's happening. So I would look at making sure that your liver is working well, and you know your ability to get rid of your hormones is good. So again, um, vegetables, making sure that you're pooping every day, making sure that you are not over consuming plastic or fragrances or anything that's estrogenic in the environment, making sure you've got plenty of protein, healthy fats, plenty of fish. Yeah, so that sort of thing. I would also do maybe some chasteberry. So chasteberry is a herb that you can use as a supplement to help you regulate your cycles. Actually, me and my friend are starting to build a functional skincare range that might help to regulate your cycle. So if you follow me on my Instagram, I might release it next year. But we're really excited. It's a new thing, but I'm hoping to produce like a skincare product that can actually help you, yeah, get everything back to normal. Well, you know, but yeah, I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Oh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, I did so. What? Yeah. 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 So just to repeat the question, if anyone didn't hear, so that stabbing pain at ovulation, right? You in the middle of your cycle, 2 weeks, around 2 weeks before your period. Yeah. So that's really common actually. A lot of women get this stabbing pain in your ovaries when you ovulate, and that's like it's not it's not it doesn't mean that you have adenomyosis at all, because that would be so much more painful for a longer period of time. But really it's because of this peak when you have estrogen. So estrogen stimulates the release of an egg, and that can cause this like sharp pain, like, oh god. So that happens. Usually it doesn't last too long though. So yeah, is it quite short? Yeah. Yeah, so that's because you ovulated. Yeah, so it's all right, yeah. But yeah, if it's any more painful, then I would look into it in a bit more depth. But generally, that's why it happens. Yeah. You had a question? Ah. Hmm. Yeah. That friend is not doing anything. Unfortunately, she's not done anything for her mental health, because it is a very deep depression at that time, and it's really hard to come out with. Actually, she also has an binge eating disorder. So when she goes into that depressive state, she eats a lot of ultra processed foods like Skittles and sweets and biscuits and everything that's really bad for you at that time, and actually exacerbates her symptoms even worse. But for someone that that has PMDD, for sure, we need to look at. Uh, mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So let me show you my no, no, not at all. I will show you my nervous system reports. There's always something that we could do. You know how I said serotonin, being your happy hormone, reduces when your estrogen levels are down, because estrogen increases your serotonin. What you need to do is look at how you make your neurotransmitters, and you don't have to do this test if you don't want to. Can you see that? Okay. So this is a genetic test that I do on a lot of people. And when you ask the question of why is this happening? Why have I always got, low moods or depressive moods before my period, and everything I do doesn't work? I always go to genetics, because if your ability to make serotonin, which is your happy hormone, is challenged by your genetics, then your PMS is going to be so much worse, right? So this is my test, and my ability to make serotonin is really good. So I never get bad moods before my period. I've never have, unless, I did when I was with my ex-boyfriend. So he might be the common denominator there. But yeah, I'm just never sad before my period, and that's because my ability to make serotonin is great, and I'm happy all the time. But sometimes a lot of women struggle with that, right? If you struggle with making serotonin, or you just get rid of your serotonin really fast, your PMDD is going to be way worse, right? So it's all about looking at your individual makeup. Yeah. Yeah, so where you were using saffron, that saffron helps this whole process. Yeah. So omega-3 for sure, B6, but also making sure that you can convert 5-HTP to serotonin. So you might benefit from 5-HTP as a supplement instead, but also make sure that you're getting plenty of tryptophan from your diet. Thanks so much for coming. So making sure that you've got plenty of protein, vitamin D, iron, making sure you're not anemic, and reducing stress levels is important. Sorry, iron. Iron is a mineral that you use in your blood cells. So iron, as in what language do you speak? I don't know. French. I pretend as if I know French. I don't know. I don't know what it might be. Oh, oh, right. Like iron, like yeah. I don't know any of the language other than English. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like red meats, yeah, this sort of. I don't really like using iron, because actually your body is very clever. If you are low in iron, your body has done it for a reason, because iron is a very inflammatory mineral. Because if a car rusts, you've got metal on a car and it's exposed to like air and sunlight, or air and water, actually, it will rust, right? That action actually happens in the body on a microscopic level. So your body's really clever. So if you're inflamed, then it will reduce your iron levels naturally. So you have to understand why you are iron deficient to start with. Because I've got people, I had a carnivore, for someone who's on a carnivore diet with low iron levels. So it's not really always to do with eating more meat or taking an iron supplement. It's really to understand whether your body is in inflammation, in an inflamed state or not. So it can run so much deeper. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. And mm-hmm. Mm, very good question. So initially, so this test was mine, and I did a massive. It was when I had no, actually, previously I had a lot of anxiety, and I was actually not. I didn't have very much many B vitamins, so I was deficient. And at that time, I wasn't doing all this process very well. So supplementing was really helpful. But when I addressed the root causes, such as working too late, working too hard, not eating properly, and all of that, and I'm especially when I came to Bali, now I'm not taking any supplements because my lifestyle is completely different. We don't have to rely on supplements at all, but it's really to do with like what state in your life, or where you are, your environment, the relationships are impacting you. When you're nourishing your body with foods that are healthy, I mean, here the food is so much more nutritious than if you go back to the UK. The food is awful. It tastes like nothing. And eating properly, foods that are actually going to serve us, having sunlight massively helps. And we really don't need supplements when we've done it right. So yeah. Yeah, when I'm in the UK, I need supplements. Yeah. Yes, usually nutrients. So I might choose a multivitamin. If we're not doing a full in-depth analysis of your health, I would go for like a multivitamin, vitamin D, if you're not in a sunny country, maybe omega-3s, antioxidants. But really, my bread and butter is looking deep in your blood tests, understanding really what's wrong and tailoring your nutrition protocol. So magnesium, yeah, magnesium glycinate is great for reducing pain. So yeah, to about 250 milligrams of magnesium glycinate is really good for cramps. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? No? Yeah. I don't know. Oh, I actually have. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Actually, my one of my lecturers had a table on. Yeah, I don't. Hmm. So there are, like, I was trying to find a table that my lecturer had, and she listed out the different types of hormonal pills that we get, and you know how different brands will affect you differently. Some of the hormones in pills are made from different compounds. So, for example, the ones that are made from testosterone can make you feel way worse, like more moody, more angry, irritable, maybe get more acne, and that's because the base form of the hormone in that pill is made from testosterone. Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know which type of, I don't know the brand name be for, yeah. In England, we call them by like different names. Yeah, but yeah, let me know if you can find out. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. I've really enjoyed teaching. I love teaching and chatting to people who are interested in health in this way. So yeah, please do connect with me, and I hope to see you again at other workshops in January. So yeah, thanks so much for coming. Thank you. Right, okay. Oh, stop recording.